questions, and we'll start with Sean McPherson from KWVA.
Hey, Coach, 250 plus rushing yards in each of the last 3 weeks. What specifically have you seen clicking out of your rushing game over the course of the season?
No, I think as a staff, we've done a pretty good job putting a game plan together to attack what we're seeing defensively. We've got a very talented offensive line who plays physically and establishes a line of scrimmage. Excellent backs who run well between the tackles. And when we get them on the perimeter, and unselfish tight ends and receivers who understand their role when we hand the ball off. So I'd say those were all critical components to our success the past 3 games and throughout the season.
James Crepia from the Oregonian.
Joe, you touch on the O-line there. This is the fewest tackles for loss an O-line has allowed in your FBS career, at least. I can't pull up Fordham stats or Georgetown stats.
You should. You're good.
Yeah, on that regard. But what do you attribute that to? Because certainly running the ball helps a lot. Triple option teams usually run very well with tackles for loss, but you're obviously not one of those. But what do you attribute the lack of tackles for loss to, and how critical would that be against the most disruptive defense you're going to face this season on Saturday?
Yeah, I think all the things I mentioned for the prior question. I think we're handing the ball off against good numbers in the box. The quarterback's making good decisions when it comes to our RPO and RSO game, and we get the ball on the perimeter. And I think we've been blocking movement and pressure very well. And that's when a lot of negative yardage plays occur when the line is stunting or you get an unblocked player off the edge. So I think schematically and from a decision-making standpoint and blocking wise, we've done a good job accounting for those as well.
Luciano Chatelain, end zoners.
Hey, Coach, I hope you're doing well, and thanks for your time. Utah
Appreciate
has an impressive defensive line and ranks among the best in the nation, not only in sacks, but particularly in tackles for loss. How are you preparing to face such a dominant defensive line, and what would you say makes them so special?
Yeah, it's going to be an incredible challenge. They play primarily a 4-down front. They have great size inside. Their ends are very athletic and active. And I think both of the inside linebackers do a really good job playing downhill, but also, chasing balls down when they get to the sideline and, play a fair amount of one high safety. So they're getting the forced defenders in the box. So all those things will be a challenge, handling the great front six. They're very, very aggressive and have a great scheme. And then we got to account for the unblocked defenders at the second level.
Zach Neal, Duckswire.
Coach, after watching the tape, I'm wondering if you can put into context what you've seen from Byron Cardwell over the past few weeks. And does it surprise you at all to see a freshman running with such patience?
Yeah, Coach Master's done a great job with that room and with the 2 young guys. If I'm not mistaken, I think he's been at 10 yards a carry or over 10 yards a carry for the Colorado game and in this past game against Washington State. But a lot of things go into that. Certainly his talent and the ability to remain patient, read his blocks, and then when the opportunity presents itself, bursting through the hole and then being able to separate. I think you've seen the ability to make people miss in space. I think a couple of those runs on the last drive, he was able to shake some guys and create some things. And, I think Coach Master does a great job, making sure he understands the blocking scheme and the reads and things like that. So incredible natural talent. He's done a great job within the scheme, and I think he's being coached incredibly well.
Eric Scopel, 247 Sports.
I want to ask you, you don't have to get into details, but from a health perspective, how close are you to normal? And have you been able to resume your responsibilities fully that you had prior to the health issue you had? And then just life in the box for you, is that something you could foresee doing for the foreseeable future?
Yeah, I think I'm improving on a daily basis. I came back to work well before the doctors recommended that I step foot back in the office, but that was a personal decision, and I think it was a good one. The only thing that really is being down on the field as opposed to being in the box. So right now I'm seeing it well up there. It's a very sterile and stoic environment, kind of devoid of emotion, which is juxtaposed with being down the field. It's the exact opposite. But I don't want to take my butt down there, and I'm not real fast, fleet of foot. I was one of those slow pocket quarterbacks. So if I get caught behind the ball, I'm getting run over, and then it's another trip back to the ER. So for right now, I think I'm gonna stay up a lot safer up there.
Matt Preem, 247 Sports.
AB in his last 4 games is 3 touchdowns rushing. He's averaging 7 yards a carry. Do you feel like his improved element there is maybe helping the run game as a whole be able to put up what you've done the last 3 or 4 games and helping Travis just because there's another, I guess, guy they have to account for that's putting up good numbers on the ground?
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. The past 3 games, I think throughout the course of this season and historically in the context of this offense, anytime that you can add a number to the run game that the defense has to defend, creates a bevy of issues, relative to gap fits and coverages you can play and things along those lines. But I think that's probably a little bit of an underlooked and undervalued part of AB's game right now is a run game. I think he's over 500 yards rushing, get closed in on 10 touchdowns. But what we ask the quarterback to do from a decision-making standpoint in the run game, it's not like being under center and 22 personnel and reversing out and handing off, low power 25 times a game. We challenge them with pre-snap looks and post-snap recognition and, the things that we do, aside from the guys up front and the guys running the ball, a part of that is attributable to the quarterback's decision-making and then running the ball when he gets the opportunity.
Jared Denny, scoop duck on 3.
Yeah, Joe, if I could kind of follow up on that. I mean, what in your opinion makes Anthony so effective as a runner, and how much of a luxury is it to have a guy who's 6'3", 220 plus and as athletic as he is?
I think number one, understanding of the scheme. Number 2, decision making, and then number 3, his size and speed. He's a deceptively quick runner, and he's also a little bit more elusive than you see for a guy that size in terms of putting his foot in the ground and making people miss. I think all those things have made him a very effective ball carrier this year.
James,
Your thoughts on the blocking performance from your 2 freshman tight ends this past week, Joe, and how important not only that was with DJ out this past week, but what that might mean the week ahead, and also some of the perimeter blocking at receiver outside of Johnny, who's been so good at it. He suffers that foot injury and hope he gets back. But what you saw from the rest of the group, because it looked pretty impressive this past week.
Yeah, losing DJ, hurt from an experience and a physicality standpoint because he's done such a great job in the run game the past 2 seasons. But those 2 young guys are big, strong. They can really hold a point. We asked them to do some things on some down blocks and on our pin and pull stuff. Great job on the zone schemes, and then getting their opportunities in the pass game. But I think they're both very talented guys with a ton of potential and need to continue to improve as the season progresses. And I know the tight end group and the receivers take a tremendous amount of pride in their role in blocking on the perimeter when we get the ball downfield. And as we've mentioned here in the past, turning short runs to long runs and long runs to touchdowns.
Eric.
Coach, just can you maybe speak to the progress you've seen of the young wide receiver, the first and second year guys? Obviously, it can be kind of hard to assess in a game when they maybe only have a couple targets or only a couple catches, how they progress. But just what have you seen from Troy and Chris in particular? And seemingly they're playing some of the better ball right now.
Yeah, and that's a good sign when guys are improving as the season progresses. Obviously, very, very talented. And I like that the group as a whole is very, very unselfish, and they understand that the most critical statistic is the one that goes in the left-hand column as opposed to one in the right-hand column. And I think with the balance of our offense, we've shown based on how we're playing or defense's deficiency, we can throw for 300 when we need to. And in the past few weeks, we've run for 300 when we needed to. So when they've gotten their opportunities, I think they've done a very good job. Hopefully we can continue to give them more in the pass game, not at the expense of scoring points and winning games. But, like those 2 young tight ends, I think the sky's the limit for all those young wide receivers.
Matt.
Joe, your thoughts on the front 7 at Utah, and in particular Sewell and Lloyd at linebacker, and just the matchup that's going to be of stopping those 2 guys specifically?
And both of those guys are very talented and productive. Lloyd, he's as good as I've seen, in the past couple of years. Just a guy with a lot of size and a lot of athleticism, physicality against the run, but he's also a really effective pass rusher. You know, that's something that's going to be a challenge for us if he's matched up on one of our linemen or we get a back on him in pass pro. So we got to do a really good job there. And he also appears to be the kind of emotional leader of the team as well. And guys, you know, rally around him. So Sewell and those are both very, very talented top level Pac-12 linebackers.
Time for two more, James.
So one of those other guys, Joe Tafua off the edge for them. How important has Salah been for you? Not just because of the role and it's right tackle, but he's really helped you guys neutralize whether it was Cam Good or Ron Stone this past week. And I realize linemen do a lot of unglorious work and don't necessarily get a lot of recognition, but he's taken on two of the better edge guys in this league so far and really helped you guys.
Yeah, he with the run game and the pass game, I think we've seen tremendous you know, growth and improvement from Salah. You know, as you mentioned, being matched up against some of the premier pass rushers in the league and doing a great job there, and you know, doing the things we can to you know, help those guys out, whether it be quick game or chips or some of the things in protection. But there's been a really nice steady growth from him and really the entire unit across the board. But you know, he's a guy that's going to have a very bright future as well.
Last question, Jared Mack, 247 Sports.
Coach, it seems like the last few weeks, excluding the Washington game, that there's a couple more deep shots going down the field. Is that a bit of a change in offensive philosophy, or is it execution, or is it just an improvement made by Anthony Brown?
I think the Washington game was an outlier, even though we did hit a couple there. But it's always going to be part of the construct of the offense. And, you know, a lot of times we call a play that's designed as a shot, and really the receiver getting open or the coverage dictates whether it goes to the guy that's deep down the field. I think a primary example of that was really a critical play in the game on that 2nd and 12, heading down on one of the last drives that we called a shot play to Dev. He released inside and kind of got jammed up by the corner, and AB continued through his progression, which took him back to Chris Hudson on the dig route, and we were able to hit that. So, you know, our pass game is always going to be comprised of quick game 3-step, you know, intermediate drop back 5-step, shots down the field, and then screens. And then, you know, based on our matchups, based on the coverage we see, and what we need to do to attack a defense on a particular week will determine the amount of times we throw it down the field.
That's all we have for you, Coach. Appreciate the time.
You two guys have a great day. God bless.